All right, we are joined by this special guest, the one and only Joey Vera, co-founder, bass player extraordinaire of the mighty Armored Saint, celebrating the amazing tour with WASP. Joey, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. Glad to
Yeah,
be here.
I mean, obviously WASP is playing that original debut album. They
Yeah,
formed in 82. You guys formed around 82, friends, from El
yeah,
Sereno and all that.
yeah.
Um, take us back. How special are your memories of that scene that grew not only Armored Saint but Wasp and Motley Crue and Slayer and my gosh, it was endless. Rat and
Hmm.
Dokken and Great White and just out of the ashes of what was Van Halen and Quiet Riot. Here comes this whole new scene. What are your favorite
Yeah.
memories that you bring to every session, every show with Armored Saint, and of course this tour with Wasp, celebrating that time?
Well, it's funny, hindsight's always 2020. So like when we look back on it, we're pretty amazed that and humble and grateful that we were even there. Because at the time when it was happening, it just seemed normal. Like it was the way it was supposed to be and the way it was, what else was there, we were coming out of the new wave of British heavy metal that was happening over in UK and the rest of Europe, and we wanted that to happen here. We felt like that's, I'm speaking we collectively as
Yes.
us and a lot of other bands here in LA and just in the US in general. We wanted that whole scene here, so we created our own scene here, and it was something totally unique and it was new and it was really exciting. And again, though, like it just seemed normal. Like it was like, well, what? Of course it's of course it's going to be like this, you know. I wish that I kind of wish that I paid more attention when I was younger. Uh, but we were just living in the moment, and the moment was really great. For a while there, it was really really cool. And so with that, we never forgot that, and we always bring that to whoever we're playing on stage. As you said, we try to keep that energy, which is the same energy we had mentally, at least back then. Like our whole thing was trying to bring the pictures that we saw in Kerrang magazine. We tried to bring that to life whenever we played. We wanted to be at the Marquee in London. That was our goal in life,
Yeah.
at the time. And so that whole, every time we went on stage, that was the thing. It was like go out there and just totally destroy and have a great time with all the fans in the audience. So we we always try to bring that same attitude even today, this to this day. So that being in that place at that time in the early 80s obviously had a very lasting effect on who we are as people and as a band. So we treat that with a lot of gratitude.
Yeah, like you say, it was kind of normal to, go to the strip or hang out at Pooh Bah Records and check out the imports or,
Hey, you know
go
it.
go to the Troubadour or Whiskey or, the country club out in Reseda. It just seemed like a normal thing. And we look back at it, and so many of those groups have continued, survived, and prospered. I just saw Judas Priest last night, interviewed those guys, and
Oh, cool.
what an influence. I know they and Maiden and all those incredible groups booming out of the UK and
Oh yeah.
Germany and all of that were to you. But yeah, little did we know that unlike so many other local scenes that maybe one band survived, again, you're going on this big tour with Wasps, your second tour with them, and
Hmm.
I mean, Motley Crue just did a Hollywood takeover celebrating those early days of
Yeah, it's
Troubadour,
amazing.
Roxy, and Whiskey, and they've been playing stadiums, and you got Slayer doing big reunion tours at Aftershock and these giant festivals, and it's just amazing how many of those bands have survived or influenced others or you know,
Yeah.
it may not have matched that new wave of British heavy metal, but it certainly was its own. And Perkins Palace and all these great venues that are no longer
Oh yeah.
around are remembered. We drive by the Raymond Theater and remember what took
Yeah.
place, you know, and
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was
I
really
mean
incredible.
it's a testament to it's a testament to our community and our genre, you know, like the metal community has been like a huge family since day one, and it's still huge. It's I mean, dare I say it's gotten even bigger. It's if that's even possible. But when you see bands like, you know, we see Metallica playing stadiums multiple nights in places, it's like this is this pretty phenomenal thing that happened, you know. Not a lot of you know, there's not too many other genres that can do that, you know.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. And you know, we had sort of a downtime during the grunge era and stuff. Nothing against the grunge era. There's some amazing music that came out during that time and bands, of course. But you know, there you know, we had a little lull in the sort of popularity and all that, but you know, the community is very dedicated and not just America, it's worldwide. You know, Europe has always flown the flag for metal, and
Sure.
so it's been it's really cool. I mean, it's again, like I say this all the time, but it's, you know, we're pretty honored that we're still able to do this for so long. Never imagined we would be, you know, talking to you, doing interviews, talking about our band, like, you know, 42 years in,
Ah,
like nope, there's no, you would have told us that when we were 19, we'd have been like, yeah, right, you know.
yeah.
So pretty cool.
It's yeah, I mean, starting the tour here on the West Coast in Portland and ending the tour at the Hollywood Palladium. I know you guys went to many a show at the Palladium and so
Yeah,
many great, LA Sports Arena and the Forum and so many great
yep,
venues, Irvine Meadows and
yeah.
that to celebrate. I managed Steeler at the time back in the day, and I
Oh
remember
wow.
Metallica third on the bill, and who
Yeah,
would have known that our band would have launched Yngwie Malmsteen and help start this band
yep,
Metallica that is playing more stadiums and more innovative things they're doing with those 2 nights with no same set list and different
yeah,
support acts and
yeah, exactly.
it's pretty phenomenal and like you say it's a community and I know our friend Brian Slagle has really helped keep a lot of bands and people like you alive and all of a
Oh
sudden
yeah,
here's a lot of major acts that might have been on major labels like King Diamond and these guys and they found a place on Metal Blade so
yeah.
you have quite a history playing
Oh
with
yeah.
a lot of great bands, Fates Warning, and of course, Merciful Fate, and all this stuff. So,
Oh yeah.
talk about what that means. When you look back and it's like, wow, Blackie Lawless really kept his thing together, and he is kind of concentrated on Europe for so many years. When you guys did that tour a couple of years back, it was like first time in what 10 years or more that he had really
It was
played.
like
And
14 years, yeah.
wow, so I
Yeah.
know the fans are fanatic. We used to go to all those shows at Long Beach Arena and all those great
Yeah.
shows to see Maiden and Wasp and all the great bands. And yeah, it's crazy to see some of the venues survive and some haven't. But the fans, like you say, it's really about the fans. It's like Rob Halford said last night. He said, without you guys, we wouldn't exist. If we
Yeah.
put on, if we announced a tour and nobody bought tickets, guess what? We're done. We're playing in our basement again. It's
Yeah.
really, it's
It's
about the
true.
fans. And, I know they worked hard to get them into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame last year. And I know it means different things to different people, but I know it was kind of a validation for them, bringing KK back on stage, having Glenn Tipton come out. I mean, that's the classic Priest lineup that they
Yep.
pay tribute to every night. They had Glenn up on the video screens while Richie and Rob raised their fists to him. It was quite an honor.
Yeah. It's great.
And talk about, the survival with your band. Like you said, you've gone through some lulls, some highs, some lows. Of course, John Bush being your singer at one point, he went over to Anthrax. You even played with those guys and different people over the years. But it all comes back to Joey Vera, John Bush, Gonzo, and Phil Sandoval. And of course, Jeff Duncan came in to replace the late great Dave Pritchard. What does that mean when you guys have that solidarity of going back to high school together and still able to step out, whether it be in Europe or America, and deliver, what you guys always have in your heart?
Well, I think the fact that we have that lineage of having been friends for such a long time is a big plus in uh, that idea. We've known each other. Myself and John and Gonzo have known each other since grade school, and we became super tight friends in middle school, right around seventh grade. So we've been friends a very long time. And Phil obviously we by virtue of being Gonzo's brother was also in the group of friends during high school and so forth. And so Jeff's been a great friend since day one too, since we started playing the clubs in LA before anybody got signed. So we have this really long lineage of friendship, and I think that that's a pretty strong bond. Um, and that always kind of keeps us glued together through the, so to speak, through the thick and thin. And that's something we don't take lightly. That's something we take, with a sense of pride. It's not like Armored Saint, broke up and then it's like John Bush and four other guys,
Yeah,
So we take a lot of pride in the fact that it's still the same guys. And I think that means a lot to fans as well. Um,
absolutely. It's almost
so
like a reunion. It's like a high school reunion. Every time you guys get together and a reunion of people's past, whether they were teenagers or whatever age they were when they
yeah,
first heard the band. And every time they come to a show, they know they're going to get, 100% plus out of you guys. And I
yeah,
mean, it's really exciting to
yeah,
see. And I know at one point you went to Pasadena High School, at the end of your education
I did, man. You know
career.
a lot of, you did your
Oh
research.
yeah, man, walking those halls that Edward Van Halen and Alex Van Halen walked. I
Yeah,
know they came before you, but
yeah,
it had to be special to know that Ed and Al were hanging out in the parking lot before class and skipping
yeah,
school after lunch because Ed couldn't put that guitar down. I mean, it
yeah,
meant a lot, to that
yeah.
community.
I even did some before Armored Saint. I was in another band, uh, and we played a few backyard parties in Pasadena,
Yeah.
and it sort of had that same sort of vibe, feeling like, wow, like Van Halen did this not that long ago. Where's the keg?
Yeah,
But
yeah. Of course, Ed only knew one volume on that Marshall, so they would get calls to the police in less than 10 minutes after they cranked up. So it was
yeah,
always a challenge. Like, how many songs could Van Halen play before
yeah.
it got
Before the
raided?
helicopters show up,
Yeah,
right?
the all the different law enforcement. After a while, they were kind of lying in waiting, for the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
bottle to
yeah,
be
yeah,
thrown or first
yeah,
underage drinker to be out in front of the party. But yeah,
yeah,
those were incredible days, and I know it built that bond with you guys. And of course, I was there
yeah.
at the premiere of your documentary at the Harmony Gold Theater on Sunset. That was a special night. Just
Cool.
seeing, what they had put together, so much archival footage and flyers and interviews and all that. And uh,
Yeah,
I know first seeing ads for you guys in BAM magazine and all those great publications that would be in every record store, the LA Weekly, and of course, like you say, everybody was checking out Kerrang and the British magazines, Melody Maker or Enemy, to see what was happening in those clubs. And
yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, that's like, well, this sort of vibe or feeling is one of the cool things about this tour coming up with WASP. And
yeah,
like you said, we did it back in 22, and it was really successful because it was just a really special vibe and a special tour. And so we're stoked that they asked us back to do it again. And we had a great time working with them. Their bandmates, all the band members
Yeah.
and the crew treated us really, really great. And we just had a really stress-free tour, and it was really, really cool. And so, it's a cool thing to be doing this again, and sort of it is sort of in a way celebrating that period of time again. And these two bands touring together, I mean, you could like look at your watch and it's like, is it 1983 or 84 or what year is this, you know?
Right. How many
Um,
decades have passed and we're
yeah,
still packing
yeah,
these places and the
yeah,
fans want to meet us and get a
yeah,
selfie and sign an album and it's
that's
it's
right.
it's pretty incredible. We interviewed Blackie recently and he has such vivid memories of those early days, of hanging out in Hollywood with no money and having a dream and
Yeah,
somehow putting it together and continuing to tour the world,
yeah.
ever since.
I remember the first time I saw Wasp was at the Troubadour, and it was one of their first
Oh,
shows,
one of the
and
blood drives, one of those shows.
it was actually before the blood
Okay.
drive. Yeah, but I
Did they have
mean,
the sign above them?
they had well, they didn't have the sign yet, but they had the girl
The rack?
on the rack, which
Okay.
was fucking nuts. And that would never fly nowadays.
No.
And then you had this big like butcher block with an actual real axe and hacking up raw meat and throwing it in the audience. Blood everywhere. Again, never gonna happen. This guy with an actual axe in a venue. Like
Yeah.
it's never gonna
Yeah, I
happen.
remember when they got that sign in there, they were literally scorching the roof of the Troubadour.
Yeah.
I don't think a fire marshal was anywhere near that place, but
Not gonna happen again. Never
yeah,
again.
no,
So we were
you
all
know,
blown away. We were just like, what am I looking at? Oh my God. It was really cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
times have changed, but Blackie still has that attitude. Like, hey,
Oh
these
yeah.
were ideas we had when we had no money. We had a friend who worked in a metal shop, and we had a garage where we could put this sign together and put tubes where
Yeah.
we could run gas through it, and
Yeah.
these ideas of a rack and throwing out some
Oh
raw
yeah.
liver and stuff. It
Oh yeah.
didn't cost us much, but
Yeah.
it
But the
raised the
effect was
eyebrows.
grand. Yeah, the
Yeah.
effect was astronomical.
No, when they started the blood drive and they literally had like the American Red Cross out front drawing blood
Yeah, that was
and those
great. That's
big
a great idea.
posters on the telephone poles,
Yeah.
WASP blood drive at the Troubadour. It was
Yep.
classic. I saved one of those posters.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a lot of history there. But
Yep.
I know you guys are always working on music. You have a great home studio there where you can lay down ideas with John and present them to the band and all that. What are the thoughts? What are the plans on the next record?
We're currently writing. We've been writing for almost a year now. And so we got 7 songs basically fully demoed and stuff. Still working though. We have a little more work to do. We hope to be recording in the studio by spring of 25. So, sort things depend on how quickly we work and all that kind of stuff for actual release. But we hope to be in the studio in early spring of 25. So we're still writing and things are going great. You know, one
Well,
demo at a time.
well, we've been blown away by the last few records. A lot of people didn't see
Thank
it
you.
coming. They're like, "Wow, really? Armored Saint still delivering? It was amazing." And I know you're hitting
Yeah,
some great West Coast spots, not only Portland, but Seattle Lemoore Theater, where I saw shows
yep,
back in the 70s, Vogue
yep.
Theater in Vancouver. Spent a lot of time. I used to live the last city, Bellingham, up right before the border there, and
Oh
I used
yeah,
to, in 45 minutes, I could be at a show at the Pacific Coliseum and see, the Giants, Queen and Thin Lizzy, or Kiss with
yeah,
Cheap Trick, or all
yeah,
these amazing shows.
yeah.
It takes me more than 45 minutes to drive to Santa Monica now. I mean, it's insane. I'd be
I
in a
know.
different country and a different world and a different mind state. And of
Yeah.
course, you hit Calgary and Spokane, Boise, Salt
Yeah.
Lake, Denver. I just saw a recent
We've
photo.
yeah, we haven't played Vancouver since 85. Like that's how long it's been since we
Oh,
played
wow.
Vancouver. Yeah, so we're excited to go back to Vancouver and there's a whole bunch of cities in Canada that we haven't never played. So we're going to be doing some cities that we've never played in
Oh, that's
Canada,
amazing.
which is awesome. And there's actually a few cities in the US we have never played too on this tour,
Yeah.
like ever. So it's we're looking forward to this run. It should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, of course. I know probably some of the hardcore fans will drive up Seattle and see you in Vancouver and Seattle and bring out their friends in British Columbia and come see you in
Hope so.
Calgary. And of course, you're
Hope
doing
so.
San Diego and Tucson and Phoenix and Albuquerque and Vegas, the Brooklyn Bowl, the Warfield in San Francisco, which obviously you guys have played a lot of famous
Yeah.
shows in
Hmm.
Frisco. But bringing it all the way home Saturday, December 14th on Sunset Boulevard right there in the heart of Hollywood
Yeah.
at the Hollywood Palladium. It's got to
Last
be
time,
special, you know.
last time we've only played the Palladium once, and ironically, we headlined when we played there. Believe it
Wow.
or not, it was in '85, and it was when we were touring with WASP and Metallica. Again, WASP was part of this legendary tour that we did.
Sure.
They were headlining uh, most of the tour, and then at some point they started flip-flopping with Metallica, and in Texas, WASP got off the tour, and they had another tour booked. So then it was us and Metallica for the rest to the West Coast, and we just sort of figured I don't know whose idea this was. Not a great idea, but you know ArmoredSaint's coming back to LA. They're going to headline the Palladium. Metallica's going to open. It was like, and we were like, oh, this is going to be killer. It's going to be awesome. It was a great show. Don't get me wrong. It was
Yeah.
awesome. It was packed. There was tons of people, but pretty tough act to follow, Metallica, even in our hometown. And it was like, yeah, maybe we should have kept kept the billing as it was before. But
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was the last
Sometimes
time we
going on
played because
last
we were
isn't it.
headlining.
Sometimes going on last isn't the best, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and to be fair and to be honest, we were giving them a good run for their money because we were going on before them again, like
Sure,
in
sure.
whatever Albuquerque, Phoenix, coming on our way here, and there was more than a few nights where Lars would say, "Oh my God, how are we going to follow that up?" And so it was a friendly thing. It was never a bad thing. It was friendly. I wouldn't even call it a rivalry. It was just each band, raising the bar. So yeah, they they taught us a little lesson in the Palladium. But
Yeah. Well,
don't get. I'm maybe I'm over exaggerating. It's not like the place was empty when we were playing, but
yeah. I know
it
what you
was
mean. I
yeah,
mean,
but
look
it
at the
was
Monsters of
it's
Rock. Metallica
memorable.
went on second before Dokken, and after a while, Don's calling Q Prime like, "Hey, man, can we go on before these guys?" You know, this
Yeah,
is this is
yeah,
this is brutal, man. Their fans are like, throwing shit at us, and I mean, it
yeah,
was, sometimes, like
yeah,
I
yeah,
say, you just you let it go. But of course,
yeah,
memories of Cliff Burton and Dave
yeah.
Pritchard and all
Oh
the
yeah,
greats. Want to
it
encourage
was awesome.
everybody to come out, see the WASP and Armored Saint tour,
Please
starting up
do.
in Portland. And
It's gonna be great.
what a party it's going to be on Sunset Boulevard right before Christmas, December 14th. The Hollywood Christmas parade, I think, will already have taken place or that weekend, So, Blackie remembers all those hot spots, the little food
Yeah.
spots behind Denny's and at Gower and Sunset and all the little spots. And of course, there was a record store right there south of Sunset, on Vine. Remember it at one point it was Licorice Pizza, then Music Plus. I remember running into
Yeah.
you
I do
guys
remember
and Carlos Cavazo. Everybody be always checking out Kerrang. Everybody go to the
that.
magazine section
Oh yeah.
to see what was happening.
Yeah.
But our special guest has been the one and only Joey Vera. We love you guys. Much support. The new
Thank
album
you.
coming in the next year, and of course, stay tuned. All those great stories of coming up with Metallica, coming up with Wasp, coming up with all the greats from the '80s right here in the LA scene. Joey, thank you so much for joining us. Look forward to seeing you at the show, and more importantly, man, continuing to support the band.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me, and we'll see you all soon.